Hey guys, Jez Sadler here. How you doing? I decided to come out for a walk and make a video whilst I'm outside. As you may be able to see in the background, I'm actually in a cemetery and I'm here for a particular reason, because it kind of fits in with the topic I'd like to talk about today, which is a bit of a serious one. In respects of mental health. So I'm just going to turn the camera around. You have a better view of where I am now. It's only a small place, really, but some of these graves have been here for well over 100 years, perhaps even longer. You can see one here, it's kind of collapsed, so it shows the age of it in that sense. And a lot of the inscriptions, they're that old you can't really read them. There's some newer ones here because there's some family plots, no doubt, and there have been some recent burials as well. You can see maybe just over in the far corner there, you can see some fresh flowers on a grave over there. So it's actually quite, in many ways, well kept, this place. However, being a cemetery, it's also a stark reminder, really, of where we end up in the physical sense. Not necessarily in a spiritual sense, but certainly in a physical sense. This is where our bones, our carcass, is laid to rest. And for me, for my personal belief, I believe that is also part of us, a physical part of us. It's still energy, because I believe that we're all energy, and the higher the vibration the energy is, the less visible it is. The lower the vibration, then the more tangible it is. And we're lower in this kind of being that we are now, as the way we exist on this planet at the moment, and everything around us is like a lower vibration. That doesn't mean to say in a negative way, it just means it's a slower vibration. It's a lower frequency, if you like, so it becomes more tangible. So when we go into our final resting place, as it's known, in the physical sense, that energy is still vibrating, but it's breaking down and gradually returning to where it originated from. But the actual part of us that is us, that moves on. And that's just my personal belief. That becomes part of then of the collective consciousness, or the collective matrix, whatever you want to call it. Becomes part of the universe, goes back to being like the spirit being that we were, the light being, the energy being that we were before we came and decided to live our lives, or experience a life on this planet. And that's just my personal belief. You may believe something similar or something totally different. However, we're all entitled to our own beliefs, our own belief systems. Now, what I wanted to talk about wasn't so much about that. It's about something else that's going on right now, because I'm just going to turn the camera around again. Because this video that I'm making is to do with mental health, but I'm also, if you notice by the title, I'm calling it mentally fit. Be mentally fit. How to be mentally fit. And it's to do with men's mental health, because that has come up a lot recently over the last few years, that men are perhaps being more willing to admit that they've got things wrong with them, especially here mentally. They're actually opening up more. They're being more free in that way, to be willing to talk about these things. And it is getting highlighted. You see it in the media. You see it, say, in more recent times with professional footballers getting dementia, because of the practices that they had when, back 40, 50 years ago, and so on, the kind of balls that they were heading. But it's not just dementia. There's other forms of mental issues, mental illnesses, to do with depression and loneliness and things like that, and it's very difficult for males in particular to admit that they're feeling lonely, or that they've got some kind of mental issue, because it's the old thing about being weak, isn't it? It's the old thing that men have got to be strong, men have got to be the breadwinner, men have got to be more than human, they've got to look after their family, they're not allowed to show any kind of weakness, because that could have an adverse effect on the family. That's a load of rubbish. It is, because men are also human. Believe it or not, it's true. Men are also human, and you're allowed to feel unwell. You're allowed to feel not okay. It's okay not to be okay, as the slogan says. I can't remember who actually said that at first, but it was some celebrity anyway, and it's caught on. And it's right. It's okay. And I would say that men in particular are starting to become more aware of that they can express themselves and allow themselves to be open about being mentally ill, if you like, to have depression, to have or to feel lonely. But what can you do about it? Well, there's one way that I saw on the news the other day, actually, I thought was absolutely spot on. It was an 86-year-old. I'm not remembering his name. It could have been Roy or something like that. It was in the news, and it's in the Midlands. And what he was doing was calling up other people as a volunteer to chat with other elderly people and become their friend, if you like, their phone a friend. Now, excuse me for the wind, I'm just going to turn around. Or a bit of wind blowing around. It's a very windy day. And anyway, he's following them up, having a chat with them. He's comforting them because they've got someone to talk to, and it helps them to overcome their loneliness. And at the same time, he's overcoming his own loneliness, because he lost his wife and I believe a granddaughter or something like that in the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. So he's had personal loss as well, and obviously this time around he's living at home, he's feeling a lot lonelier than he was before, because he hasn't got his wife of 60, 70 years, I think 70 odd years they were together. She's no longer around, so he's missing that comfort in that sense. And that can make you feel really lonely. So he's overcome that by becoming a volunteer to phone others up and just have a chat with them to help ease their loneliness. At the same time, he's helping to ease his loneliness as well. So that's something that we men, even younger men, can do. We can get in contact with people. We can join online groups, and WhatsApp groups or Facebook or whatever on social media, whatever type of group, and we can enjoy the conversation of others, even though we can't physically meet up. And as for myself, I mean, I live alone. However, being on my own doesn't really bother me. And there are those of you out there who are like me, where you don't mind being in your own company, you enjoy your own company. But even there, you can get down at times. And it's just nice to have a chat. Even if it's just a few quick messages on Messenger or something like that. It's just nice to connect with people. Yeah, I like to socialise to a degree. I also like my private time. And that has helped me through the first lockdown and now into the second lockdowns we have here in UK. And the actual loneliness part of it doesn't bother me. I'm okay. But I know there's a lot of others out there that it does bother. And that's the sad situation. And for these ones, there are organisations out there, there's charities and so on that they can reach out to and get calls like that guy was doing, calling up his neighbours and other people. He's got about, I think, something like 12 to 18 people that he calls up on a daily basis or over the course of a few days to have a chat. And they become friends. That's the kind of thing you could get involved with yourself if you wanted to. to kind of distract yourself away from the loneliness, because I think that's what it is mainly, is to distract yourself from your current situation. Doesn't make it go away, but it does help you cope with it a lot better. And if you do that, then perhaps it'll be a lot easier to deal with. This is obviously in lockdowns, but outside of lockdowns, there's also those who feel lonely for whatever. Look out in your neighbourhood for those who you haven't seen around for a while. What are they doing? Perhaps knock on the door if you can, or if you've got the number, call them up or whatever for a chat. Invite them round if you see them, where you can, obviously. But dealing with loneliness is a mental situation, and it can, if it's left the way it is, it can lead to depression, and obviously ended up in a place like where I am now. And we don't want that. We don't want that kind of situation. And there's too many stories. There's far too many stories of young people, and people of all ages really, who seem to be the beacon of light when they're outside, but then back home on their own, it's a different story. Reach out to them if you spot something. If you are in that position yourself, reach out to others. People are willing to listen. And I don't mean putting posts on Facebook, but if that helps, then fine, but you don't have to expose yourself in that way. But reach out to people you can trust if you can, or just reach out and talk to someone about what your situation is. And that will certainly help to overcome your loneliness. And obviously with things like meditation, always I've got to bring up meditation, that helps you to strengthen your positive self-belief. If you're meditating on that, affirmations, positive thinking, and all these kinds of things, all these tools, these coaching tools have been around for decades now, if not longer, hundreds of years. Use them in your life. I have got a strong mental attitude, personal mental attitude, and that helps me. I'm sure it could help you as well, because without that, it's going to be difficult to be mentally fit. Obviously this is more for the guys out there, as I said at the start. So use the tools that are available, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through counselling, whether it's just having a chat. All things like that can help you strengthen your personal mental attitude, so you can handle situations like loneliness, like depression, and so on a lot better than perhaps you may be doing so right now. Because, guys, I don't want any of you ending up in a place like this long before your time. That's it, guys. I hope you get something from this video. Let me know if you do in the comments, and I'll speak to you sometime soon. Bye now.